There's 3 questions that I always like to challenge folks with that I believe you have to answer to be your best in leadership. I believe you have to answer these questions. The first one, what is leadership to me? Now, I'm going to test this group. Now, I think you guys are on the same page. I'm going to test you just real quick. Leadership is something that we all talk about all the time, and we've all studied and we've all heard about. And it's so a lot of times we take for granted. We think we're all on the same page. So I'm going to see if we're on the same page in here. Here's what I want you to do, and I want you to listen to your neighbor at your table when you do this to see which table is on the same page with each other. I want you to think of the number one most important attribute in leadership. Number one, most important, one word. Okay, you get one word in your head right now, okay? Everybody got it in their head? On 3, I want you to say it out loud. Don't let me down. You got to speak here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Did you get what that was? I was trying. Do I need him to say it again? I got it. The funny thing is, obviously you expect that in a room like this. I could take you to any table. 8 people, 9 people. You'd have 8 or 9 different answers typically. It's amazing. It's amazing. And none of them are wrong. But the fact of the matter is what that reveals to us is, you know what? We do all think a little differently about the subject. So it's important for us to take the time right from the start to go, okay, what do we mean when we say that? Or are we on the same page? When you have a team, you talk about leadership with your team all the time. Do they really understand what you're talking about? Showing the way by going ahead. If you look in the dictionary, the word lead has all kinds of different uses for it and meanings. Simplifying that even more, it's influence. And I know you've all heard that. Influence. But I think it bears repeating. I think it's important because it's such a key part of who we are. Influence, it comes from our actions. And when I say actions, I'm including in that our words, attitudes, and behaviors. Our words, attitudes, and behaviors. Ultimately, think about it. That's what happens when you speak, when you act, when you're behaving a certain way or have an attitude a certain way. You're moving somebody. If leadership is influence, and that's what it's coming from, then we have to understand that every single person in this room has a role in leadership. Our kids at a very young age playing with the other kids in the neighborhood, they have an opportunity to be leading. I was teaching my kid stuff like self-regulation at the age of 5 years old. Big leadership terms and things like that, and crazy. And then they pick that stuff up too. They learn it. It's amazing. They really do learn stuff like that. I literally, my son, I was in the, we also teach him, I can remember during this time when he's like 5, we also teach him contemplate the consequences. So Caden, when you jump up on the table, could that light fall? And if that light falls, it could break, right? And then what could happen if it breaks, besides Dad getting mad? And so you teach him, think about the consequences and self-regulation, be self-controlled. I'm in the kitchen discussing something with my wife, and my son's 5 years old, and I hear him go, Dad, he hears us discussing, and he says, Dad, self-regulation. And I was like, okay, that's good, he's getting it. And so we keep discussing this thing, maybe arguing a little bit, but it's, And 2 minutes later, he says, Dad, self-regulation. And I'm like, okay, Caden, I got you, bud. I'm glad you know that. But I'm like, we're trying to, I kind of wanted to go, well, what about her? And I didn't. Fortunately. But there's no joke. So I keep going. I keep arguing. My wife and I are talking, and pretty soon Caden comes in the room and he goes, Dad, contemplate the consequences. Influence, they can learn these things at a very young age. Influence is a huge part of your call.